Well, hello, this is Easter Saturday. It's good to be here again. This constitutes episode 21. We'll make yesterday, which was Good Friday, number 20. It's also the 17th day of our national lockdown. And we're continuing in Matthew's Gospel. So we pick up the text at Matthew chapter 27, verses 62 through to 66. The next day, that is, the day after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate. And they said, "Sir, we remember what that impostor said while he was still alive. After 3 days I will rise again. Therefore, command the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may go and steal him away and tell the people he has been raised from the dead. And the last deception will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go, make it as secure as you can." So they went with the guard and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone. Now, only Matthew records this precaution taken by the Jewish religious leaders. And it may be because this gospel is particularly addressed to the Jewish people. The religious leaders are thinking ahead. They're being strategic. They're taking all the precautions to make sure that they've completely shut down the Jesus movement, remembering that he said he would rise on the 3rd day. They're determined to make sure that he stays in the tomb. Of course, this assumes that the tomb will be opened from the outside, or that it needs to be opened at all for Jesus to leave it. There are those today, even in the Christian church, that would claim that if people had looked in the right place, they would have found the bones of Jesus. The religious leaders seek to make sure those bones can be found. Let's notice that the guard set was not a Roman guard. It wasn't Roman soldiers. Pilate instructs that they have their own people, that they have their own guard, and should use them. This, I want to suggest, becomes important subsequently. The religious leaders may be thinking ahead strategically. They're also failing completely to recognise the emotional space, the headspace, that the disciples of Jesus would be in. I like Proverbs 28 verse 1 where it says, "The wicked flee though no one is pursuing them." And what this points to is a case of projection. They're thinking about themselves and what they might be thinking in that situation, even though it is far removed from what they would be thinking if they were the disciples. They're seeing it from their point of view, not from the disciples' point of view. The wicked flee though no one is pursuing. Love it. We have a classic case of projection here. There's no way that the followers of Jesus are thinking or planning any such ruse as the religious leaders are projecting onto them. Although Jesus had warned them of his death, they could not conceive of it. They did not see it coming. They are in shock. Some, all at one level or another, are in deep grief. Some of them are just numb. They're lost and confused, with no idea of what comes next. They've all gone into hiding, some in clusters, some alone. That they would seek to whisk the body of Jesus away to claim he'd risen from the dead would have been inconceivable for them. For what purpose? What is to be achieved? The movement has died with him. And they needed to get their heads and hearts around what had happened, and each to work out for themselves what comes next. For some, they may already be making plans to return to their trade, or to their business, or profession, or start a new one, though for some they have changed so much during the intervening years of following Jesus, they could not simply go back to what they were. For some of them, having a plan would have given them a sense of psychic security. They could see a path forward. Even if they never implemented, they could see that there was potentially a path forward. For others, planning anything at this point is much too soon. They need time to lick their wounds, consider how they've been so completely taken in by Jesus, see what learnings from the last 3 years of this experiment are, and to determine not to make the same mistakes again. The whole point is this: these are good, honest, honourable people of integrity. There is no way, certainly in my opinion, that they would even contemplate to continue to perpetuate such a sham. For now, the disciples of Jesus are in a place of unknowing, of not knowing what comes next. They had not planned for this eventuality, and they're completely blindsided by it. They have no strategy as to what to do next, of how to proceed. After 3 years of following Jesus, there suddenly everything has come to a dead stop. All their certainties have been whipped out from underneath them. They are leaderless, rudderless, they are dead in the water. Continuing the project is not an option. Are we able to park ourselves, even for a few moments, to imagine how this might have felt? If we've had those moments where our whole world seemed to have crashed down around us, we may understand how the disciples are feeling at this point. It is not pleasant. It's also, though, an opportunity for us to learn to trust. To trust that in our unknowing, God is not taken by surprise. And this has been a theme of the last couple of weeks. God is never caught out or taken by surprise. We may not see the next step, and we may not see it for some time, yet it is there. There is a next step. There is always a next step. God bless you.